Hi everyone, welcome to Library Research Tips and Tricks for Students. My name is Anna Brinegar. I'm a librarian at the Fort Wayne campus. And today we're going to talk about library research and what goes into it at Ivy Tech Community College. So just with those who are attending today, I would like to set expectations about what we're talking about today, just to make sure that we're all on the same page with what we cover. So if in chat, if you could answer the question of what was one thing I hope to learn today is, you could put your answer in chat. Navigate the virtual library. So we won't go over APA format today, but there is a separate entire webinar just for APA, and that is in a couple weeks. So I will show you how to get to that. But yeah, using libraries as a source, library resource off, how to navigate the library. Yeah, we're going to exactly talk about that. How to research, exactly. So I just want to make sure that we're all, that's what we're covering what you need today and let you know of other opportunities to learn other things. Today we are going to talk about how to narrow down a research topic. Maybe you've been given a specific topic for your paper, or you've been asked to provide your own. We're going to talk about how to narrow that down. We're going to go over the library's website and how to use it, how to search it, and use and search those databases, and also how to get unstuck, right? So how to find the sources that you need. Maybe you're not getting enough articles, maybe you're getting too much, how to narrow that down to a manageable point. And of course, we'll have answers to your specific questions. Okay. All right, so we're going to start with this video about research in general. Often it is research, when we talk about it, it seems like a linear, just one-way road, right? A, B, C, and D. You pick a topic, you research it, and then you write about it. It's actually a more complicated process, and this video does a great job discussing that, and that's why we share it. And I will start with some subtitles, and we'll go from there. It's about 3 minutes long.
Meet Jenny. Jenny has a research project due in a few days. She picked a topic when her professor first assigned the project. She chose her favorite TV show, Bridezillas. It seemed like a good idea, but now that she's doing her research, she's having a lot of trouble finding sources. She's freaking out. Jenny's problem started with her mental model of the research process, which she sees as a one-way street. Like many students, Jenny thinks that once a project is assigned, she should pick her topic right away. Then she can move on to finding sources and reading through them, and once she has all her sources, she can start writing her paper. But the research process is a lot messier than that, and picking your topic is intertwined with finding and reading sources, and writing and editing your paper. Picking your topic is research. When you first pick a research topic, it isn't set in stone. It's just an idea that you test with some exploratory research. If it looks good, you find and read some more sources. At this point, you might find that the published research leads you away from your original topic. That's okay. You can let the research you find guide you and tweak your topic a bit. And by the time you've gone through this cycle a few times, you may find that you have enough sources to start writing and editing your paper. Even then, as you're writing, you may find that you need to pull in additional pieces of information, and you may return to the research cycle. So, let's wind back the clock for Jenny, bringing her back to the day her professor assigned this project, and allow her to do it again with this research model. Again, Jenny picks a topic that is interesting to her, the reality TV show Bridezillas. As she tests the topic with some internet research and in article databases, she discovers that there is lots written about it in the popular press, but not much scholarly research which her professor requires. Realizing that maybe her topic is a bit too narrowly defined, Jenny decides to tweak it by broadening her scope to reality TV in general. But when she tests this new topic, she winds up drowning in a sea of research, all of which has to do with reality TV, but doesn't tie together to help her form a coherent thesis. Back at the drawing board, she wonders if there's a happy medium between Bridezillas, which is too narrow a topic, and reality TV, which is too broad. Since Bridezillas is just one of several reality TV shows about brides and weddings, perhaps there's more written about this subgenre. Testing this topic in some of the library's research databases yields a promising but not overwhelming number of results. Instead of realizing too late that her topic was unresearchable, Jenny built in the time to test and tweak her topic, so she could take her original idea and shape it into a topic that she still finds interesting and can realistically use for a short research assignment. If you want to know more about the research process,
Okay, so just as a wrap up of that video, we are talking today about research steps, but they are all intertwined, right? So when we find a source that looks interesting to us, we can read it and learn more about the topic, and that will help us have more questions about the topic, right? And that will lead to more research and then eventually to writing and editing our paper, okay? So I just want to remind you that also, if you have a topic, it's not set in stone at the beginning. You can always change it, always evolve it as you need, okay, as you research. So just on that top idea of narrowing down your topic, these are just some questions to inspire you if you are having trouble narrowing down. They're not a checklist. These are just if they apply to your topic, right? And these are questions that can be answered as you read about the topic, as you are researching yourself or what you have read already in class. But they are as follows. So is there a specific part of the topic that you're interested in? So I'm going to use the English 111 example. We have a common one of why read is a common question for English 111. So reading is a very large topic. A specific part of that could be reading for learning, reading for leisure, reading fiction or nonfiction, right? Getting more specific that way. Is there a cause and effect you can explore? For that English 111 question again, for why read, we can think about the effects that reading, which is our cause, the effects of reading has on our vocabulary, on our mental health, on relaxation, etc. The next question we have are, do you have any unanswered questions that you have on the subject? Because they can really help you inspire what you want to research and what you want to write about. You can also focus on a specific time period or a group of people or a place if it's related to your topic. This can be really useful when you're talking about history projects or sociology projects, specific people to study, or even in health, specific patients to study. For example, in our English, back to our English 111 question, maybe how do students who read more often, do they excel in school? Or if there's another group of people who you're interested in learning about, think about how this topic affects people and see if you can explore the group of people that way. And also just to think about, is your topic too new or too obscure? Just take time to consider that if you are required to use academic articles, they do go through a process called peer review, and that takes a long time to publish, right? So they are reviewed by experts and they send it back to the writer before it's published for corrections, right? That takes about for a year or so. So if you're looking for academic articles on something that happened maybe last week or is currently happening, the academic articles wouldn't be available for that. So think about if it's too new, try connecting it to a more broad idea. Similar to how Jenny did in that video, she wanted to research a very specific thing, Bridezilla is a TV show, but the academic articles were lacking in that idea. So she connected it back more broadly to reality TV and to weddings in general, right? See if you can do a similar idea if you are having trouble with that. But that might be helpful for you as you narrow down your topic. Again, these are not a checklist. It's just help for inspiration. Okay. So with that in mind, so maybe we've brainstormed, we've considered our topic and answered those questions, and we have come up with our research question that we're going to play around with today, and that is, how does using social media impact mental health for teens, right? So we have a cause and effect. We also have a group of people that we've kind of used. That's just something that those answers show up in our question, in our research question. So in chat, as we're going to use this example, the first thing that we should do when we're considering searching is considering keywords. So in our library databases, they are not as smart as Google, so they need some keywords to get started, right? They can't put an entire sentence or question in and get back results. We'll need those main ideas and use them as keywords. And for us, they are the red highlighted words, right? And so if you are looking at your own research question, most likely the most important nouns, verbs that you see would be your keywords, right? So the main ideas, the main concepts. So in chat, if you could answer, we're going to practice brainstorming for synonyms. So if we think of a synonym, think of related words or words that have the same meaning, right? So if in chat, if we could answer that for social media, what are related words or words that have the same meaning as social media? If we could answer that in chat.
It's not letting me type anything
That's
in.
okay. Oh, okay. You can just say one if you want.
I
Yeah.
went through the browser because I don't have Zoom on my phone. I'm at
Okay.
work. I don't have my laptop with me.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Oops. Yeah, so that's okay if you want to unmute and say whatever you need to, that's okay. Online platforms, digital platforms, specific platforms, you could get really specific, like TikTok, Instagram, social networking. Those are all different ideas or words for social media. Okay, what about mental health? And let's do two at this time, sorry. Mental health and teens. Can you think of related words for either of those ideas? Youth, yeah, youth. Young adults, definitely, yeah. It's like the psychological impact. Yeah, like your mental impact. Yeah, exactly. Adolescence is another word for teens. Yeah. Mental well-being, or you could be more specific also like anxiety, depression, etc. A more specific mental health issue. Yes, you guys are doing, yeah, this is just an example of brainstorming, right? Your topic would have different ideas, but we brainstorm for keywords so because when we do search, we'll use each of these and we'll use related words as well to help expand our search if we need to, right? So we're going to search the library's website, and I'm going to put this in the chat just in case you may not know where it is. It is this link here. This is our statewide library website. And I am going to start today with showing a couple ways to search. The first way is here with Discover, this green box up at the top. And I'm going to go up at the tabs up at the top here to find different options. Okay, so the tab we are at now is Search Everything, and that will search many of our library databases. So we'll have academic articles, we'll have ebooks, we'll have news, we'll have magazines, etc. All of that is found in the first tab here. Maybe if we just want books or ebooks, we can click on this tab at the top here, and you can search just for books and ebooks, right? And also our third option is if we know the journal or the magazine or the newspaper's name, like the New York Times or nature, etc. If we know that and we want to see if the library has access to that specific journal or magazine, we can search just by that title. Okay, but to get started, it's usually a good idea to search everything if you are looking for a bit of everything, right? So if you know more specifically what you want, you can click ebooks and then journals, and you can search that way. But I'm going to start with Discover, and I'm going to search for, I'm going to search for our question of depression and depression, social media, and adolescent. And yeah, I'm going to spell it right. Yeah, there we go. Adolescent. Okay. Oh, so it didn't give me any results. At this point, I can see, and I did this on purpose, so we can just tell you, if you get this no results, switch up your keywords, switch it up to something less specific. So maybe teens, maybe would be a better word for that. Depression, social media, nothing. Okay, that's interesting. And I'm going to search for mental health, social media, and teens. There we go. Just more broad will really help with that. So we have our mental health, social media, and teens. We have all our keywords here, and I just want to introduce a concept of these helping words and or and not, right? So we have our main keywords and we can connect them with and or and not. So if we have two ideas that are very different from each other, we can use and to connect them to make sure they both come up in our results. So social media and mental health, we can connect those two. We can also use or for those keywords that we brainstormed, those synonyms that we brainstormed. So similar words such as ban or prohibit, we use or in the middle, and that will search both words as well as anytime they are together. Okay. If we get an idea that comes back up a lot that we're not interested in learning about, maybe a specific time period or person, or for example, COVID often comes up when we're not really looking at that, we can put not in front of it and not, and then the word, and it will eliminate the word from showing up to our results. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our results here and look at what we can do to make it a little better, right? So we have mental health, and I'm going to put and then I'm also going to put and teens, right? And there's one more step before we click enter. I just want to talk about other options for searching is phrases. So keeping phrases together, you can put quotation marks around them. And that will make sure that you get the whole word, whole phrase. And you can also group together and or by using parentheses. So this tells the parentheses that these two words are going to be our synonyms, and then you are looking for healthy lunch or nutritious lunch that way, right? You can also search for, you can put the and in front, such as pie and pumpkin or pecan. So you're looking for pumpkin pie or pecan pie. So if there is a main word that you're looking for, and then it's connected to two synonyms, you can connect them with and or that way. Okay, so back to our thing. I'm going to put these in quotation marks just to know that they are phrases, and I'm going to click search, and that will get our results here. We'll have our results up at the top, the number here. I'm going to zoom in so everyone can see. Once we come to this point, we can ask ourselves what exactly we're looking for. That can really help us narrow down our results right away. Okay. The first thing I want to cover is books and ebooks, and we can find those using this white link section on the left side, right? This section here. So if we choose a book, we want just books, right? Or just ebooks. We're going to go scroll down a bit to material type. And we're going to choose either book or e-resources. I'm going to click e-resources first, which those are our ebooks. And once we click that, it will just show us related ebooks. Okay. And again, if this is not enough for us, we can always change our keywords. Removing a keyword will broaden our search, will give us more results. Changing that up to more broad keywords will as well. If you see anything in the results that says click here, for access. Those are our ebooks, right? And then you just simply click here and it will take you to the ebook where you don't have to download anything or an app. You can, but you don't have to. You can just click read online and it'll open up so you can read the book. Okay. So anything that says click here will give you an ebook. Okay. I'm going to restart our search and we're just looking for books. Okay. If we click on material type again, scroll down and look on the left under material type, click on book, it'll give us just the print books that we want. Okay, and so at this point, we can see that maybe we're in Fort Wayne, but we are looking at this book here, and we click on the title, we can learn more about the book. And we notice that with a summary of the book, as well as when it was written, etc., and where it's located. If you are at a library that doesn't have it, you can click place hold. I'm at Fort Wayne. I'm going to click place hold and then Ivy Tech login, and it will log you in. If you have already logged in to your Ivy Learn, it logs you in automatically, or you have to input your Ivy Tech information, and then you can it gives you an option to click place hold again, where you would choose your pickup library, which would be, for me, Fort Wayne. Okay, and then click place hold. I won't do that because I forgot last time and it sent me a book I didn't need and I felt bad. But placing holds will send you from one library to another, from one campus to another. So that it can be an option for you. And those are print books. Okay, so that is using the results, using the left side of the Discover search will get you books and ebooks. Okay. I'm going to start over for our search and get us back to the bunch of results here. And then we can think about academic articles, right? And maybe we need some or required to have those for our paper. To find those, we would look in our database results. And our database results are, we can find and limit and play around with those results using this right side here. Hopefully my arrow is big enough to see. So the first suggestion I have, so if you know that you are looking for a specific type of item, and that would be an article, an academic article, if you go under source type and choose academic journals and click that link, it'll limit it down quite a bit. Okay. Another option that I suggest if you are still getting a lot of results that you may want to narrow down still is searching by publication date. Maybe your instructor has asked you to just have within the past 5 years or 2 years of research of academic articles. You can put the publication date in here, and I'm going to choose 2021 to 2026 and include, and it will limit it just to that date, the time frame. Okay, so we went from about 33,000 to 200 just by using a couple clicks, and that gets us our results here. And our list of articles are in the middle, and we can read the titles, of course, but that only tells us so much. And I would suggest one thing is to go beyond the title when you are looking at articles before you click and read the whole thing. One thing that can help is by clicking the title, and it should give you, oh, this one doesn't. It should give you an abstract. Let's see if another one does. Yay, this one does. Okay. So an abstract in academic articles will be an overview, excuse me, sorry to keep moving around, an overview of the study and what they did to reach that study conclusion and more of what they were trying to prove, etc. It gives an overview of the paper. It can be a great way to learn about the paper before you continue on to read about it. So that's what I mean by clicking and reading past the title. Our title can only show us so much, right? Our abstract will really help get to the process of that paper, of the article. So once we've read the abstract and we find it useful, we can click check for full access, this blue button up here, and that will take us to the actual article on the database where it's stored. And we have, again, our article title here. We have access options below the title, and that will give us the option to find a PDF version of the article or online text, just have it as if it's a web page. So either one, if whatever you would like to use. I'm going to click PDF. You can also just click download and it will download it automatically, right? Download. It will download it to your browser and it will open it up. It's one option as well. I'm just showing you all the options today. You can choose what you'd like. So access options and then PDF. We'll open it up as in a viewer, a PDF viewer. And I open it up this way because I like, to have the option to read it, review it. And then if I like it, I can then do a couple things. I can share it to myself. So if I want to look at this later, as I research, it's good to keep track of the articles that you find interesting, even if you don't use them in the long run, you won't have to find them later, right? So if you think maybe you could possibly use it, save it in some capacity, right? So saving it, options are up at the top here, the top right. We have our print, of course, and we have our download. And then one to the left is our share. And our share will help us with a lot of things. We can save it to our Google Drive. We can save it to OneDrive. We can create a link, and that link will go directly back just to this article, so we don't have to find it again. And we can also click on email and email ourselves a PDF version of the article. So that way we have it. We don't have to look for it again. We don't have to worry about searching all over again. That's just a plug for saving it, sending it to yourself. It's a good idea. We also have on this row up here, we have a citation button, and that is those quotation marks. And you can click on it and choose the style that you wish to use. And it will give you a works cited citation. We say use this with caution and check it against a guide. And we have a guide on our main webpage. It does make mistakes. It has problems with capitalization, with formatting, etc. Sometimes it has the name of the author all in caps, which is incorrect. So just if you do use it, check it against a guide like the one on our front page, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, but that is what the citation guide is, a citation of the article that you're looking at. I'm going to go back a second. Oops, I'm going to go back and I want to show you a couple of things. There is a process called citation chasing. That's one of the words for it. So in academia, when you publish an article, you often are referencing other research that has come before you, right? Just like you are when you're writing a paper for your class, you're referencing the ideas that come before you. So do people who write research papers or publish peer-reviewed papers. And so to find those references of what has come before, what related ideas have come before, you can click on this reference section right here, and it should, well, none of these are in the database, unfortunately, but they will list options for connecting to those papers, right? Let me see if I can find one that has a couple more. Okay, so if we click references, we can see the sources that the person used to write this paper. This is a good way to find related papers, related research, and that it's just an easy way to find what information about more information about this topic, right? So if you are struggling for finding articles, one way is to look at the references section, and this will link straight there. You can find, if it has this option here, you can view the PDF and read it automatically. And then you can also look at anything that referenced this article. Maybe people that were written after 2021. Someone from 2025, 2023 wrote about a topic and referenced this paper. You can find those as well. So we're going forward in time and we're going backwards in time. Each one will help us find more resources for our paper if we need it. Okay, just if we need it. When we go back, the same references can also be at the very bottom of your paper. And scroll down. So all of these right here are references or other papers that they used to strengthen their argument and to prove their point in their paper. Okay. I'm going to take a break for a second and make sure there are no questions because I feel like I've talked a lot. I just want to check in if there are any questions that come up. Okay. If there are, please put them in chat and I will look and check and make sure that we get that answered for you. So outside of Discover, we do also have databases that cover more specific and narrow topics, okay? And those could be great to search if you know that you just want a health research paper or an engineering research paper, technology. You know you just want one specific topic, right? They can also be good if you feel like you're overwhelmed with the results that you get with Discover. Maybe you're getting too many results. I would try to search a database that is related to your topic, and you can find those. This button that says A to Z Resources is underneath Discover, A to Z Resources, and that lists all of our databases, and you can find your subject by this filter box at the top. Under Subjects, if you click on that, you can choose a related topic, related subject. I'm going to choose Science and Applied Science, and then I'm going to click Filter, and it will show databases that have articles and news, etc., about the topic of science and applied science. Okay. One of them, Science Reference, and you can click on this to find, and the search will be very similar. We have a place for a keyword. We have our and, or, and not, and another keyword, and another option for and, or, and not. So we could do, this would be science specific, but let's try mental health, and social media, and teens, just to see if anything comes up. It may or may not. And then we can click search. Okay. Again, really similar results looking once we get to this database, but if you click on the title, it'll get you full access and it should look pretty similar. Most of our databases look exactly like this, have the ability to save, download, share. They all come from the same company, or many of them come from the same company, and they would look similar to this layout. Okay, but that is an option for finding related subjects or more specific databases for your subject. And I'm going to clear the filter and show you another option. So maybe you just want to search in our ebooks, right? So you maybe just want books and ebooks. You can go by type and click ebooks and books and filter, and it will show you a list of our ebook databases. For example, ebooks by ProQuest, which we saw earlier, actually. And another one we have is O'Reilly and etc. So some of these, you'll read descriptions of them to get more information about them, but you can also search by type of source. Okay. That is another way to narrow things down. And before I go, I just want to show you the citing sources really fast. This button here is our citing sources button, and it will give you examples of citations. So when I said just check if you do use the citation creator, do check it against a guide such as this one. If you click on APA and under APA citation samples, it'll show you the different formats needed, an in-text citation format and a reference page format for the different types of sources that are common in college. Okay, I don't have time to go in depth on this, but that is right here under citing sources. Another a shout out to future webinars. You can click under statewide workshops here, under see more, and there will be an APA and an MLA as well as English 111 upcoming. And I just want one more thing before I take more questions. We are here to help. So if you have any questions in your process of looking for articles, finding information for your papers, this Ask a Librarian button is on the right side here. Let me see if I can, yeah, it's this little tab. If you click on this tab, it'll open up a form, and this form will allow you to contact your local librarian. So put in your question and as much information as you can. If you select your home campus, it'll go directly to your local librarian and they will email you back as soon as they can. Okay. So that is Ask a Librarian. And there's a couple things I want to go over just to wrap up and repeat what I shared. So what if my search doesn't, gives me too many results? What if I'm overwhelmed? Then remember those and not keywords. The and will make sure that it will narrow your search down, and not will eliminate unwanted words. You can also consider if your topic is maybe too broad, think about narrowing it down, getting more specific with your keywords. If you want to search on a different aspect of your topic, it can also help. That's related to narrowing down your topic. You can also search by, like we did, we searched by source type, we searched by publication date, and that will really limit your results down quite a bit. But if you are in a place where you doesn't show it, you're not getting enough results for your articles or for your sources that you're looking for, I would suggest using fewer keywords, starting with 2 or 3 of those keywords like we did. We had 3 main keywords here. Starting with fewer keywords, that will broaden your search, or using more general keywords as well. Searching with or, getting those synonyms, and that will also help broaden your search. So social media or online or TikTok, right? If we added those synonyms, our search would increase, our results would increase. And using a database that's specific on your topic can really help if you're struggling finding articles as well. And also, as I mentioned before, if you are looking for a topic that's too new or too obscure, think broader, connect it back to a broader, a larger idea, and that will be easier to find articles, information on it. And also to check and use the references in the reference pages and works cited pages, see if those articles there are any use for you. They can be a great source for those, for more information. And that is all of my slide. I am going to stop recording so we can take questions. And